happy. And I lost that, but it's back now. You know, I could be at the traffic light, you know, Nicole, and a certain song would come on and I just would be just praising and worshiping. And I know people are looking at me like, what in the world is wrong with her? but you know, my song is back in my heart. My joy is back in my heart. So that's why that affirmation means so much to me.
And, you know, that is powerful because, you know, I have this newsletter that I've been doing for many years now. I have a huge population of women who are in prison. And one of the ladies on my mailing list, several years ago, she received the newsletter for that month. And she wrote back to me exactly what you're saying. She was a songstress and a psalmist, and she wrote music and all of these things. She loved to sing, but her husband was abusive. He didn't want her to sing, so he pretty much beat the song out of her. She ended up killing him. And she was sentenced to 50 years in prison. And when I got that letter, I mean, I just remember I just bawled and bawled and bawled for her. And so, of course, with all the new laws, et cetera, she was able to go back and get a lot of that time reduced, et cetera. That's another whole ball of wax. But the fact of the matter was, you know, he pretty much beat the singing out of her. And so recently she sent me a letter, and she's doing much better. She's still incarcerated, but her time has been reduced. And, you know, just really able to sing the song that is in her heart. And she has joy all over again, you know, really coming to grips with how she got to that place in that relationship with her husband, why she chose that particular man, and how it's related to things that happened to her in her childhood. So this just really confirms and affirms your story and what you're saying and the work that you're doing in the community as it relates to domestic violence. I want you to talk about the marriage and how you were able to get out of it.
The marriage. I met my ex-abuser on a vacation. I was going to Bermuda. I was in Bermuda, actually. Never traveled before. I didn't even know there was such a place as Bermuda. Beautiful place. So I met that person there. And, you know, I had no clue because I was looking for love in all the wrong places. So, you know, part of what happened was because of what I went through in my younger years. So someone was showing me love, and I was craving that love because I didn't have my dad, and, you know, I didn't meet my mom until I was 12 years old. So I met him, you know, we got married. He had an agenda, which I wasn't aware of. He was looking to get a green card to come and live in this country. So he did. We got married anyway. You know, I saw the early signs on, you know, he would get angry quickly, and he would just burst out for no reason, just yelling and screaming. And at that time, I just thought, you know what, okay, maybe I can calm him down. I can, you know, make things better, because you always think you can fix it when you're in an abusive situation. You think you can fix it, and then you become codependent, which is a whole nother paragraph in itself. But you know, then all of a sudden it was the arguing. Then it was maybe the punch or the slap or the pushing, you know, and then it was little things like, you know, taking my finger, my index finger, and bending my finger all the way back till I got down on my knees, or it was, you know, biting me on my body. It was just different things. I think for me, once the shame set in my heart, there was no way that I was going to let my family or anyone know that this is what I was putting up with. You know, I am from Washington, D.C. I'm a Washingtonian, born in Chocolate City. This is where my family is from, and I come from a pretty tough family. So, you know, I kind of walked the streets, thought I was a pretty tough girl. That was all on the outside, though. And so I thought I could change him. I thought I could handle this. But the shame of the situation was so heavy, and then the bruises, and then the psychological hold that was on me. There was just no way I could leave. And then I didn't even know that there was such a thing as domestic violence. I had no idea that this thing had a name to it. I didn't know that there were resources that, you know, people I could turn to. You know, I mean, we were in the car one day, and I said something wrong, And he just started, you know, pressing on the gas and like, I'll crash this car. You don't do what I tell you to do. And I jumped out the car on the bridge.
Oh,
I jumped out the car. He pulled the car over and grabbed me and dragged me back in the car. So it was incidents like that. I mean, one day I jumped off my balcony because he was coming at me, and I just jumped off the balcony. He ran outside, grabbed me off the ground, and pulled me back in the house.
Wow.
You know, one of the most tragic incidents was he had beaten me so bad that he left me in the bathtub full of water, and he thought that I was dead. But I'll leave that story for the second book.
Yeah.
But how did I leave? This is how I left. One day I was at work. He didn't work because he didn't have a green card. He didn't have a Social Security card. So I worked 2 jobs to take care of us. And then I got pregnant. So I'm working 2 jobs with this man who doesn't have a job. And so I was at work one day, and I was calling for him to come pick me up. He had my car. And so back then, you know, we didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. So I was calling him, and I was getting no answer. So something told me to call the house phone. And then something said, listen to the messages. And then I listened to the messages. And the messages, there was a woman leaving messages, calling and asking him to open the door.
Wow.
And she was referring to him as baby, honey, darling, sugar pie. And at that moment, I was like, wait a minute, hold up. So 2 or 3 hours had gone by, and I was still stranded on 198 in Laurel, Maryland, waiting for him to pick me up with my car.
Right.
So eventually, I called a girlfriend of mine, and she and her husband came and picked me up. When I got to my apartment, he was gone. So was everything I owned.
Oh.
All of my clothes were gone. I'm talking about every pair of shoes, every purse, every piece of jewelry. My furniture was gone. Everything was gone. My